some ways terrifying. She spoke largely on AI. The audience just sat quite stunned at some of the material in her presentation. I remember Professor Cogin, as she will be in 30 years, talking back at us. It was she looked much the same.
It was an AI twin.
The terrifying bit was about what's happening and changing so fast, that AI could badly and very quickly change everything in very dramatic ways. The inspiring thing was about the way she talked about how it was already transforming teaching, and that was last year, which is about 13-12 in AI terms. This year, I'm sure she's going to bring the same sort of very reflective but very precise and data-driven approach to a core issue that's been plaguing the organisation forever in metrics. How you measure quality, how you identify quality, how it should be rewarded. We're running late. It's always better when I shut up. I'll shut up and ask Julie Cogin.
Great, thank you. And thank you everyone for being here. Now, each month until the end of the year, we're going to see a new university global ranking released. Last week we had the QS rankings, we've got the Leiden coming up, we've got Shanghai Jiao Tong or the ARWU, and then we're going to have Times Higher Ed as we go into November. And these are only a few of many rankings of universities, and we've got new ones coming down the line as well. There's one in the US, Best Universities, which is gaining a lot of traction. That's coming out of the US, and we're seeing that universities every day are measured at a global level, at a national level, at an individual discipline level, and with ATEC on a whole lot of other levels, and that's we're fast learning about what they may be. And this mirrors very much our private lives. We're counting our steps, we're counting the hours that we're sleeping, we're counting our calories, we've got apps to tell us how productive we are, and our watches are saying when we've been sitting down too long and reminding us to stand up. And all of this data is very, very useful, but I'm wondering if really the data and the metrics are managing us, and whether we've lost our sense of purpose within universities and we're not managing the data more. I think that there is a disconnect. When I speak to academic staff, which is regularly, I never hear from them that I joined academia to dream of my H-index improving. People talk about they're attracted to this sector because of the exchange of ideas, because of discovery and curiosity and solving problems that people haven't articulated yet, by mentoring students and working with colleagues and being able to see a student grasp a really complicated concept. This is why people join universities, and this is what the data shows. So it's really time for us to ask, has there been a metrics drift? Have we lost balance? Are we moving too far away from our purpose as a university and the motivators within it? So I'd like to cover 3 areas today. First, just to talk about the abundance of metrics and rankings and current state. I'd like then to talk about motivators. I'm going to focus on academic staff. I'm a provost and I spend most of my time with them, but I think a lot of them do translate to professional staff and the motivators for them being part of this sector. And then I'd like to provide a few suggestions at how we can regain our balance, and need all of your help in terms of reminding people about this. So, I've got a very famous quote by William Cameron. A lot of people think that this came from Einstein, but it wasn't. Cameron was a sociologist, and he said, "Not everything that counts can be counted." and not everything that can be counted counts. I love that quote, and it certainly resonates with the presentation today. So let's start some interaction in the audience. I'd like you to imagine, now this is a really big dream in the current climate where the word education only featured once in the last budget. Anyway, let's just say our government invested $3 billion in Australian universities over the next 7 years. Okay, what would you fund? Anyone want to yell out a few things? What would you fund? If you had that money, where would you put it? Come on.
Teaching qualifications.
Yeah, great. Where else? Come on, it's a lot of money. 3 billion. Yes, PhD stipends. Love it, love it. Pardon? Leadership. Maybe we won't need as many consultants. Where else?
Teaching infrastructure uplift.
Yeah, teaching infrastructure uplift. That's such a great example. Where else? Where would you use the money?
AI training.
AI training, yes. Getting students back on campus, belonging, all of those things. Well, this is exactly what happened in Russia. In 2013, Russia put that equivalent amount of money into lifting 15 universities into the top 100 of one of the major rankings, okay? The QS, Shanghai Jiao Tong, and Times Higher Ed. That's a lot of money. What do you reckon happened? What happened? None of them were in there. Did it work? Yes? We got a no? Anyone else? Yes? Did it work? Hands up. No? Yeah, the no's win. The no's win. Let's have a look at how they spent the money. And so this was all about the indicators of rankings. So how the money spent? Well, 12 Nobel laureates. 12. So that's really going to the Shanghai Jiao Tong, right? And some of them never even set foot in Russia.
Very wise.
That's right. We're not allowed to mention it these days. Recruited top foreign faculty, paid them well, had lots of retention bonuses in there, and there were lots of different types, because this is at a time where you could have a 0.4 and they didn't have to be part of a university to count. A lot of money went to that. Publication incentives that erode culture, and then when teaching becomes a necessary evil to do your research, you know how it goes. R&D labs, infrastructure, performance management systems, everyone had a KPI. One university, they had 109 KPIs for all their academics. They had an excellent trailing spouse program so that whole families could come over. Campus infrastructure, international conference hosting, because on one of the rankings, international conferences is really gives you a lot of weighting. Generous scholarships, etc., etc. $3 billion for a country that's got a lot of poverty, they've got a lot of homelessness, and we want 5 universities in the top 10 rankings. So this is what happened. So this is the QS ranking. These are the 15 universities that started. None of them were in the top 100, and this is just the tracking over time. Some of them went up initially, some of them, but pretty much the majority of them all, as soon as the funding ran out, ended up in a much worse position than when they started. It's really quite extraordinary. So they started with 15 and then it moved to 21. The government got rid of some of them that seemed to not going anywhere, and then they brought in some others. It's with the ARWU, only 5 were even eligible after that money of coming into the rankings, and you can see everyone's gone down or remained equal. It's really quite extraordinary when you look at that amount of money and what those outcomes are. So, question to you. Are Australian universities, do they have a rankings religion? Are they obsessed? Are we obsessed with rankings? I'm UNSW alumni and I'm just being bombarded with my feed about the QS rankings last week. What do you think? Are we? Yes. A lot of yeses. Yeah, look, there's one way, one measure of this is by looking at the proportion of universities in Australia that participate in the rankings. So I'm using the Times Higher Ed here because that is seen as a broader ranking. Evidently it measures teaching, but it really doesn't because it invites eminent scholars, well-published scholars, to talk about the reputation of other universities teaching. So they probably don't know about the small universities who are doing good jobs. Anyway, look at Australia and look at the proportion of our universities. So this is, in one way, this is something to be enormously proud of. And it probably also speaks to a bias to the size of our universities, absolutely, in Australia. But that is like no other country of how we're going and how we're participating. So it is interesting. I'm going to speed up because of the time delays, but when you look at the reasons why, often you get this narrative with the why. I'll let you read that. You can't read it? Okay. One view, revenues from international education contribute to building scale in research through income to recruit eminent staff to undertake high quality research and purchase necessary buildings and facilities to deliver additional research outcomes which lift the status in global rankings, attract more international students does that resonate with you? Yeah. So that is one view. There's an abundance of these metrics that surround us in universities. Now, I spoke to my friend Claude, and Claude helped me do a scan of the sector and say, well, how do we measure our academic staff? Have a look at promotion protocols across Australia. Have a look at them, and it's really amusing, but horrifying at the same time. Let's have a look at just a collection of the main, very much point systems in Australia. So many points for Q1 journals or different types of categorisation of journals, of course. Weightings by the number of authors, authorship. There's also different points that you get for bringing in Category 1 grants, 2 to 4 grants. What's the size of the grants? How many authors are on the grants? It might sound familiar to your university. Followers, likes, subscribers, papers download, high impact media, points for top publishing houses, particularly around books and scholarly contributions for books, journal impact factors, citations, field-weighted citation index, journal editorship weighted by the impact factor, of course, publication volume weighted by journal rank and authorship. It's really amazing. Learning and teaching scores. One university weights that by the number of students in a class, proportion of students retained in a class, proportion of turnover of teaching material. We also see things like patents, IPs, spin-outs, heavy benchmarking across the sector. Now, I chair promotion committees, and so I see this being used all the time. Now, I'm pretty sure that your universities would have a judgment element. Like there's a narrative to go to this, to go with it. But when you're on a promotion committee and you're reading hundreds of these, or even 20 of these, you're really influenced by the metrics. Very, very much. Like it could be a narrative, or you could have an arto about, I had to take this leave and family responsibilities, or this reason I didn't have achievement relative to opportunity. But it's hard to argue with the metrics. Really, really hard to argue. So I'm now going to run an activity with you. I'm guessing that you need a bit of chocolate, yeah? I'm hoping you can see the screen because there's going to be a 25-second video and I'm going to give you a task. There's people throwing around a couple of basketballs in front of a lift well. Some have got a white top on, some of them have got a black top on. Your job in the 25 seconds is to count the number of times the ball touches somebody with a white top, their hands, yeah? If the first person to yell out the correct number gets the Toblerone, and the first and second person. Now, if you've seen this before, please just stay silent, but don't make noises during the video because if you start going 1, 2, 3, people will lose their own count. So quiet during the video. Remember, if somebody touches the ball like this, that's 1. They bounce it, catch it again, that's 2. Yeah? Are we ready? Have you haven't had your coffee yet, but let's get it. White top. Let's go. Thanks, video. Okay, chocolate.
27.
Haven't heard the number yet. No. 9, who said 19? Yay! There's a winner. Okay. I'll leave the other one for Stephen to be kind to me. Okay, what else did you see? A gorilla. What? What? Who saw a big gorilla with pink lipstick on go through? No gorilla? No? No gorilla. Could we just play the video again, please? So it looks like about 3% of the room saw a gorilla. Did you see a gorilla, Stephen? You're pretty special if you saw it. No. Okay, just this time, don't count. Just watch the video. There is a point to this. There is.
There is.
Pounds his chest. Okay. Okay. That is the same video. That is exactly the same video. And what I've done, normally I have a bit more fun with this, but I know we're running out of time. But what I've done is I've simulated an incentive system. An incentive system is based on 3 elements. Reinforcement, so you have a stimuli. Stimuli is the goal. You know, you want to be right. Then that encourages a response. Did everyone in the room count? Everyone counted, naturally. And then I've strengthened that by having a reward. You probably don't care about the chocolate, though I do. But what you want to win. You want to be right. And so that is we use reinforcement theory to get our kids to do homework. We use them in prisons. We use them all the time. Absolutely. But what does that video show you went wrong? What's wrong with that? You miss really important things. The gorilla symbolises innovation, symbolises an opportunity, and we've got our workforce counting citations, counting learning and teaching scores, counting this, and the gorilla walks right around. So it's dangerous to be so focused on metrics in a way, because who's to say that counting is the right counting? Everyone in the room is marching to the beat of the drum, but is the drum playing the right tune? If you use these types of incentive systems, you have to make sure the goal is right, that you've got the right goal. Let me give you some crazy examples of goals. Oh, there's the top one. These are all true goals. There's some of the more crazy ones. I'll talk about university ones soon. Hear about this, what they did in India with snakes. And this is hospitals, and this is hospitals in Australia. And there's one that's gone rogue, a surgeon that has gone rogue. I'm so sorry.
I'll do that. Indian government wanted to reduce the number of people dying from venomous snakes, offered money for dead snakes. The consequence was people started breeding venomous snakes in private so they could kill them for money. Hospital in Australia wanted to reduce complications or deaths following surgery to lower insurance costs and enhance reputation, so they introduced a name and shame protocol. The result was surgeons stopped taking high-risk, complicated cases, which resulted in people who really needed help getting inferior or no care.
Yeah. Don't worry about the next one. Then we've got basically NAPLAN tests in Australia, right? So the government wanted to ensure children hit a minimum of numeracy and literacy, which you can completely understand. So introduce those tests and publish the scores. So what has happened in Australia, a lot of schools have spent excessive time teaching to the test and even getting children who are not at the standard to take an absent day. So what are some of the others in universities? I mean, there's one that I see is innovation in education. We want our academic staff to take some risks. We want them to innovate, but are they going to do that to a negative impact on their learning and teaching scores, so that it's not going to help with promotion? I used to work at RMIT. This is a great place, a wonderful university. And in 2019, we had a promotion indicator that had commencing PhD students, that you had to have commencing PhD students for promotion. It got changed over the years to graduating PhD students. But what happened? Whole lot of academics took on people that shouldn't have been in the PhD program, that they couldn't finish. And then we had academics writing their second and third and fourth dissertation, to get them through the system. So a lot of this is based on a concept. Stephen Kerr, who's an academic at Yale, and he wrote a classic called The Fallacy of Rewarding A and Hoping for B. So it is about balance. We need to have balance. And I'm not saying not have incentives or goals or metrics, but you can overdo it, right? There can be a drift too far. So these are some of the consequences. It signals to staff what the university institution really cares about, and it will shape culture. What you're measuring, what you're rewarding. Are you counting the basketballs or the gorilla, or what else? So there's a lack of differentiation and missed opportunities. Because can you imagine, I spent 20 years in GO8 universities, and they're all working to the same rankings, exactly the same indicators. Vice chancellors know if you hire this person and their citations, what is it going to move for ranking? They know that. They know how much it costs and what it's going to lift. So where's the differentiation then, if we're all working to the same thing? Gaming the system happens. So that's citations. How many editors of journals, reviewers of journals say, oh, you may want to cite this to get this published, and it's their work. It's very well known that this happens, self-citations, etc. Or the salami slicing effect, where you've got one wonderful, comprehensive study that you slice up into multiple outlets so that you can get all the publications. And also, I think very importantly, we're seeing more of it, is the unethical behaviour. This fellow here, his name's Moshe Parat. He was the Dean of Fox Business School at Temple University, and he was sentenced to 14 months in prison and $250,000 for rigging the rankings. There's other universities who have been banned from rankings for a year, 2 years, etc., from fudging the books and making their submissions to the different rankings. This happens. This is a predictable human outcome from setting up your incentives so far in a particular way. So this is what you will see. So I said earlier, there's a bit of a disconnect with this behaviour and then what brings people to universities. And there's some really good work out of Monash University and the University of Sydney. You can see Watt and Richardson's work. They've done a special edition not so long ago on motivators. And as I said earlier, a lot of professional staff have a similar sort of motivators for coming and working in the sector. But academic freedom, autonomy. And it certainly is what attracted me to this sector. Teaching what I wanted, researching what I wanted, and I could, make decisions around that with really loose parameters. The most fundamental driver of academics in Australia. The intrinsic motivation around knowledge, curiosity is another one. It's coming up second. Commitment to pursuing shared research interests, pursuing scholarship in a particular field, following your passion. You hear about that a lot, particularly more at senior levels as you narrow down and find an area that fits for you. Deep engagement, mentoring students, mentoring colleagues, and also building research identity. Now, there are some changes around career stage, like it does differ for early career academics than it does for senior, but these are pretty stable motivators of academic staff. As I mentioned earlier, no one's dreaming about their H-index score, and so there's a disconnect, is my point. There's a real disconnect. There's not a good balance anymore, because if you think about some of those metrics that I talked about earlier, the over-reliance on those quantitative metrics, and the promotion criteria is just, it's really become quite ridiculous when you look at that. How we make decisions, how we judge, are we doing this at the expense of purpose? Universities have a different unique mission and purpose, and you often don't see that coming through in what they're reporting to their governing bodies, senates or councils, what they're asking of academic staff. So I'll make some suggestions very soon. Okay, so suggestions. How to use metrics wisely. And I'm sure that you've got some ideas yourself. So the first one is keep metrics in proportion. So set a limit, folks. Say, okay, we're going to invest this amount of time, this amount of money, this amount of resource to metrics. Some universities have got huge teams that are doing this, but keep it in proportion. Don't let it take over as new systems come in, which they are doing all of the time. Keep it in proportion and regularly reassess, is this metric right for us? Some universities, even Ivy Leagues, are starting to move out of rankings because of this. It's taking over resource and time, etc. Next is focus on what truly matters. And I have written in here, and apologies that you can't see this, high signal proxies for purpose. So instead of saying we're measuring citations, we're measuring proportion of publications per academic, very, very normal. What is your purpose at a university like RMIT? It's very much about applied research. So maybe you, instead of looking at those traditional conventional metrics, you might look at the proportion of our research that is influencing policy, that has societal impacts. So sort of higher level, so you're still doing that measure, but you're linking it to what your purpose is of your university. Avoid overweighting easy to measure. Student satisfaction is one, very easy to measure. It's not retention, it's not success, it's not learning, but you know the happy scores that we've got don't look like they're going away soon. Use metrics as tools for learning. So one thing that I've been experimenting with at ACU, where I'm at, is instead of having a concrete goal, have a hypothesis as a metric. So, for instance, instead of saying we want to improve our quilt score by 25%, very interesting presentation prior to me about that, and statistical differences are nil, I'm not surprised. So instead of saying lifting our quilt score, have something like, we believe if we invest in authentic assessment, we improve the timeliness of feedback and create a sense of belongings, then we will improve the student experience. Something like that. Instead of saying we're going to increase our citations by 25% over 3 years, say something like we're going to invest in early career academic staff, cross-discipline research clusters, and we're going to focus on high impact publication outlets, which we will believe will improve our citations over time. So more wordy, it provides direction, it still allows some measurement, but it gives you balance. And balance is what's key, not one or all of the other. I like in promotion panels to ask the promotion panel to test, what does this number miss? What does this number miss? And it's a really, really good question. And it really gets a committee unpacking, you know, what are the other elements that have driven this outcome? Reinforce the direction and the purpose. It's not just the direction, it's also about progress. What's your university's North Star? One example from ACU that I'll share, we have 7 campuses in Australia. We're located over 4 states and obviously an offshore campus in Rome as well. And this is really hard to get efficiencies, really hard, because some campuses maybe have lots in the classroom, others may be small and struggling in some areas. So we've got heads of school who are managing budget and trying to do this, and one head of school, to meet the budget, said, oh, those students in that small campus that's not really viable in this course, we'll just flip them online. So they'll come into the classroom and click a button and they'll watch the class in the Melbourne class or the Sydney class or whatever. It doesn't show anywhere, and so no surprise that those student numbers continue to deteriorate. You're meeting the budget, but you're missing what we're here for, and that's around purpose and student experience, etc. Protect the academic culture. The metrics will be there. They should start a conversation. It informs a conversation. It is not the conversation. Make sure we've got space for scholarly discussion. In promotion panels, I like to read people's papers. Just read the papers. You can't do them all, but read some of them. Have a look at how creative, how innovative the work is. You'll get a much better idea of the type of academic they are rather than just looking at tables and benchmark data. Another one here is think about the leading indicators. Instead of saying, yes, we've got transparent decision making, we're consultating with our staff following the enterprise agreement. Well, how much of the consultation resulted in change? and alterations to your initial plans. Be looking at how do staff understand the reason why, rather than everyone had access to read this document. Just a couple of points. There's also a great resource that some universities have signed up to. This is called Dora, and Dora provides a breakdown of how overly relying on quantitative data impacts research communities. Have a look at it. Some universities in Australia have signed up to Dora, but I've just given you a few ideas, but there's lots of resources if you want to go there as an alternative or as an adjacent to what you're doing at your university. And finally, just wrapping up, moderation is key. Absolutely, we need balance, and use the metrics, but certainly don't let them substitute for judgment. Don't let the metrics shape culture. It's really the purpose, coming back to the purpose of the university is really what should be shaping this. Thank you very much.
Questions? Jesse.
Yeah, go on. So, really fantastic presentation, particularly on, I guess, the dependence or over-reliance on research publications as a key metric. My question is, do you believe that this begins during the PhD training, where for your thesis and for your future to get grants, there's a huge dependence in the not just the compilation of your thesis, but also in getting early career grants on the research publications. Even so far as a lot of universities will have thesis by publication,
Yeah.
where they can be quite strict on having one paper per chapter and not enabling, so it kind of forces you to do the salami slicing, and that's setting the standard from the very beginning of how academia works, rather than actually enabling what you're talking about, which is maybe going for one big publication that is your thesis. So do you think, I guess my question is, do you think it's starting at the training, and how do we get away from this for the future generation?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That is definitely happening in training. It's interesting. I have seen, I do meetings with staff that don't get their promotion, or that they miss out on an academic position after, getting to the final stage. And often they'll say, well, my supervisor told me if I did X, Y, Z, I'd get promoted. I only had to publish in these 3 journals and get this many, and that was it. Or if I had a publication per chapter, then I would get this job. I hear that all the time. And it may work for some universities, but increasingly it's not working for more and more universities. Universities are, and I don't think the supervisors have necessarily kept up to date, because it might have been what was relevant to them when they went through their own promotion or their own hiring rounds. But more and more it is about, well, what are you doing to lead others? What are you, and even if it's for a senior lecturer or a lecturer, well, often you might be leading research assistants, or you might be leading sessional staff, or something. So what are you doing further than those defined metrics? So it's important, if you as a PhD student, to speak to more people, not just rely exclusively on your supervisor, and speak to people in other universities as well, would be my advice. But I've seen that is happening, and it's a shame.
Gentleman in the middle. You, sir. Yeah.
Ehsan Gary from RMIT. Great to see you, Julie.
Hi.
I'm the chair of academic board here at RMIT. You emphasize on judgment, and from my point of view, judgment is part of leadership, but metrics is about management. And we go back to that the long debate between the management and leadership. But I want to hear your thoughts about use of metrics in the middle management of the university, because you talk about ranking, which is broad, and you go straight to academics metrics, which is really cold-faced. But there are multiple layers in between. And my observation is that the metrics is basically translation of, a senior manager metric to a middle level metrics, and then that translates to academics. If I'm an executive in research, I've got metrics for the number of grants applications in my department. I translate it to academics, then that would translate to promotion criteria.
Yep.
So your thoughts on the middle management?
Yeah, no, I agree. I see that cascade right through a university, and often it gets distorted. But the tone is set at the top, and if the tone at the top is about moving in the global rankings, and that's, it's not leadership, that is chasing a rankings game, that will cascade down. And you see it, and it cascades, and it distorts even further as it goes down the chain. But as chair of academic board, you've got a wonderful opportunity here to have a conversation and begin a dialogue about what are the consequences for that. How is the purpose of the university getting in bed in the culture rather than this excessive measurement and these metrics?
The gorilla has just gone up the side
The
there with a
gorilla
sign saying we're out of time.
Yeah.
Julie Cogin, that was terrific. That really
Yeah.
was great.
Thank you.
Julie Cogin. Thank you.
Thank you.